Howdy, folks. This is Hulkrex, and welcome to episode 27, Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to talk about the Quickdraw, the 60-ton mech that is very similar to the previous mech we just talked about, the Dragon. And it falls into similar roles, but I think the Quickdraw does it a little bit better. Now, let's just delve into and talk about this thing. Alright, the Quickdraw, 60 tons. It's a 5.85, so it has 5 jump jets, which is pretty decent. Carries 13 heat sinks, which is good. One drawback, it only has 128 points of armor, and we'll talk about that. Now, it carries an LRM-10 with 1 ton of ammo, an SRM-4 with 1 ton of ammo, 4 medium lasers, 2 shooting to the rear, and a set of jump jets that are located in the legs and center torso. Now, what do I think of the Quickdraw? I like using the Quickdraw, but not necessarily in the current configuration, the standard configuration. And we'll get into that when we start talking about variants. Now, if I just had a standard Quickdraw and I wanted to play with it, I would throw it into the same role as like I did with the Dragon. It is a support mech in the type of supporting a Scout Lance or a heavy Scout Lance, or it can be a heavy Scout for a heavy or assault Lance. You definitely don't want to get anything near that has any type of firepower, because the moment this thing starts taking damage, well, it has a couple tons of ammo, and there's been times when a Quickdraw has become a pyrotechnica display. But how do you use it is you have to go in, cover and concealment, get in there, move around, keep yourself where you're not getting shot at. Make somebody else be a better target. That means moving faster, moving into heavy woods, getting behind partial cover, behind a building or a hill, because you're using your movement. And if you're able to move 5 to 8 hexes, you're getting a +2, +3 modifier. And if you're behind or in some type of woods, suddenly it's like someone's looking at you and going, okay, I got a +3 or +4, possibly even 5, depending if, let's say, you're in heavy woods. And they're looking at you and go, well, I don't think I want to shoot at you. Well, I guess it would be kind of hard if you're in heavy woods. How would you do that? Other than jumping, maybe. Alright. But you want to make it so no one shoots at you. Okay, that's the standard rule of a scout. Make some other slob out there in the battlefield piloting a different mech be the target. And the way to use this thing, it has that LRM-10, so it can sit back and provide 10 points of damage. Typically, when you're rolling, that's going to be like 6. If you look at the scatter chart, when you hit with a missile LRM-10 rack, the odds are usually not in your favor of ever getting 10. That's just the way, the nature of the beast when it comes to missiles. It's nice on paper, but it's definitely not a guarantee. But you can sit back and find a target, sit someplace, and rain down 10 points here, possibly. Usually it's 6 on a target, and just annoy the heck out of somebody. While most of the time, if you have a heavy or assault mech and you're getting hit by an LRM-10, you just go like, okay, there's probably something bigger, like a PPC, large laser, a 20 rack hitting you, and that little insignificant little bit of damage that you're taking from, and you're going to ignore it because there's something bigger out there that's going to be the target. Now, if this mech is being used as a support for a light lance of scouts, then you're looking at it and go, I have a choice of hitting these really fast movers, or I can hit the slower of the scout mechs, and then it has a tendency to get targeted more. especially by other scouts that try to get in around it and behind it. And this mech was 2 configuration where it has 2 medium lasers shooting out the rear. Somebody getting behind it is not necessarily a detriment because you can still shoot directly behind you. But we'll talk about how I feel about that. Now, there's a couple variants here. One is they eliminate the 10 rack by adding 4 more heat sinks. Okay, so that puts you up to 17. And then adding 2 more medium lasers, which shoot out the front. That's not a bad mech per se. You're kind of giving away your long range fire that you have. Okay. And if you want to get into somebody's face with with 17 heat sinks and 4 medium lasers and SRM4, you're within 9 hexes of, you have to be in somebody's face to even hit them. And let's see, there's 12, and the heat from that's 4. So yeah, there's no way this thing will heat up if it walks. If it runs, then yeah, there's a minor amount of heat, and you can do that for a few turns. Let's see, next. Many prefer their weapon be pointed to the front. Yeah, I'm the same boat. I'm usually like take those 2 rear firing medium lasers and throw them to the front, reconfigure it. Some have quick draws of altered so that the SRM rack is the rear torso and the 2 mediums shoot to the front. That's not a bad deal, but to be honest with you, let's just start talking about how I would configure this mech. That SRM4, it's going bye-bye. Go. I ripped that thing out immediately. I can live with the LRM-10 because you need. I feel that any mech that's a medium or even a light mech, you start getting into the 30, 35 tons and plus. You need something that shoots at range, and to have something that shoots at 21. Geez, what's not like about that? So you get rid of that 10 rack, or not the SRM4 rack. That frees up, 3 tons, if I believe so. And let's see, let's look at missiles real quick here. Yeah, 2 tons that's 3 tons. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't mess. That's 3 tons you can have. You know what I do with it all the time? Move the 2 medium lasers to the front, drop that SRM4, and put 3 tons of armor on this thing. What's not to like about that? So suddenly you're sitting at 11 tons and you got 176 points of armor. Man, it's like you're lasting a lot longer, and you can take a few hits from heavy and assault mechs and still be around to tell the tale. Now, another way of reconfiguring it, which is the way I usually run this thing, and I drop the LRM-10 in favor of a large laser. Alright, so now you have a large laser, and I put another medium laser on this thing. And so now I have 4 medium lasers shooting to the front, 1 to the rear, and then have that large laser. Okay. And you're thinking, okay, that's got to be hot. That's 4 medium lasers and a large laser. Well, you don't shoot everything at the same time. You use the large laser to get, as you're at range, because you're out to range 15 with that thing. So that's your support mech. And then if you're doing a scouting role, and if you're running a campaign, you want something that can last a long time without worrying about any supply. And that's the way I like all my scout mechs, if possible, is to be running nothing but energy. And during all the campaigns I played for the last 25, 30 years, we've always tried to reconfigure all of our scouts into an energy role. Because if you can operate a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time without having to worry about any type of resupply for your ballistic or your missile weapons, okay, that means you can operate without a supply train as much. Now, with the 13 heat sinks, all right, you fired a large laser, that's 8. You can run. All right, that puts you at 10. You can jump 5, reposition by using a jump jet plus flyer the large laser. Wow, that's 13. Does this mech ever get hot? No. It's the configuration I made it into. It's not going to worry about heat at all. Now you think, okay, you got those 4 medium lasers. Okay, this is where it starts getting a little bit of heat added to it. So you fire those 4 medium lasers. Once you get into, let's say you get into range 9. All right, I'm still going to fire that large laser. That's 8. Fire maybe 2 medium lasers. That will put you at 14. You walk, it's 15. You're going up 2. If you run, that puts you up 3. You can't do that every turn, so the next turn, if you're still at a kind of a range, I'm going to fire only the large laser and cool off that heat that I just created. All right, that's the same thing I've always said. Look at your range bands and figure out what's the best way to keep yourself cool at the same time using firepower, because you never do yourself any favors, as I've stated many, many times, heating yourself up to the point where you have too many depriments and you're shutting stuff down, or you're having negatives to hit, because if you have negatives to hit, can you hit anything? No. So what good is it? You may be firing all kinds of weapons, but if you're pushing your modifiers up higher and higher and higher, it's a diminishing returns. All right. That's one way to look at it. Now, let's say you fire those, get into, let's say, range 6, medium range. I'm more inclined to fire all 4 medium lasers, shut off that large laser. So there's 12. You walk, that puts you at 13. You run, that puts you at 14. All right, so you're only heating up if you run. Now, it's a different story if you jump behind somebody. Yeah, you might want to take that risk. There is that risk that you're not going to worry about the jump jets. So you could jump behind somebody that has some pretty open backside or something like that, and fire the 4 medium lasers and jump. But that puts you up 17 if you jump 5, or a minimum of 3 heat. But so if you jump 5, get behind somebody, that puts you at 17. That puts you 4 up on the heat scale. You're going to be moving less. So the next turn you might have to jump away out of the way or walk and not fire anything. All right, so there is something you start getting into the mess, and you have to figure out, where is it worth heating yourself up to have that chance of hitting one spot in a back or getting punched through the back. Because typically, if you have no armor missing on the back, most mechs can handle at least 1 hit, maybe 2 on each torso before you start punching through. And if you only hit twice, all you may have done is strip the armor off. Okay. So was it worth that risk or not? That leaves it up to the mech pilot if he's willing to gamble. And sometimes you have to gamble in a game to win, but is it going to be worth it a turn, 2 turns later? That's a question you got to ask yourself. Now, if that's the only mech you're facing, well, yeah, pound that little guy to pieces, take a risk, and if you not have to worry about any shooting the next turn or 2, yeah, maybe take that risk and cool off. But that's a situational circumstance you have to make. Now, other than that, I think we've covered pretty much everything. The only big thing is that, just remember, this is I like to look at it as the role of a scout, big scout, and usually run it with some mediums. Not bad if you run this with the mediums also. So, just some thoughts. If you have any questions, put them down below. If you have a different way you like running this thing, let me know, because I've always learning new tricks to the trade. This is HulkerX. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk with you later.